How do you face the best-selling smartphone in your history? That's the question Motorola faced with the Motorola G 2014. The Moto G remains one of the best cheap phones you can ever buy. The Moto G 2014 aims to improve on that success. It sticks to the same basic formula, but changes are obvious. It has a larger 5-inch screen, improved cameras, and 2 front-facing stereo speakers. But crucially, it costs less than 200 SIM free. It's enough for it to maintain the best budget phone on the market. But is it enough to upgrade from the 4.5-inch Moto G from last year? That is less clear-cut. The Moto G2 does not look dramatically different from the original, but no 1M8 style aluminum body or glass back like the Sony Xperia Z3, but no one ever expects that. It's all plastic with glossy finish on the front and soft touch matte on the back. It is pretty standard approach to design for cheap Android phones, but like the Nexus 5, it manages to avoid making the plastic design look or feel cheap. There's no troubling signs of poor build quality, and it feels like it can withstand a few bumps and scraps. The back has still the same soft touch plastic and slightly curved body, which makes it nice to hold. It's not as comfortable as the original though, mainly due to it being wider. At 11mm thick and 149 grams, it's slightly thicker and heavier, though no chunkier than most 5-inch phones. Motorola offers the new Moto G in black and white, but it supports a number of colorful replaceable back shells. It's a nice option if you find that the standard one's a bit drab. The only problem is that the rear cover isn't easier to remove, so you need to be careful when removing the cover. And sometimes we like to see Motorola fix in the future versions of the Moto G. Behind the cover, you will find the same 2070 mAh non-removable battery and the micro SD card slot, which was missing from the 3G only model from the original Moto G but was added in the 4G versions. You also find the surprising new inclusion of the dual SIM card slots. There's room to keep 2 micro SIM slots, which can be useful if you have only one for a holiday and using a local SIM to make cheaper calls, or if you have a business and a personal number. Motorola also sets aside settings dedicated to the dual SIM, and you can manually switch between the two. Additionally, you can use intelligent calling where the phone learns which SIM to use depending on the call. The most surprising element of the SIM card support though is the lack of 4G LTE support. No 4G made sense last year when networks were new and limited, but Motorola corrected them with the Moto G 4G edition last year. Why is it gone backwards now is puzzling in extreme. One final change is the addition of front-facing speakers, which sit above and below the display. It's a welcome move away from the rear speakers on the original, and cheering sound is projected towards you instead of being buried behind the back. One issue, however, is the gap around the speakers is just wide enough to trap fluff and mug phones, generally having a habit of attracting. Motorola said it listened to feedback on the first Moto G, and one of the things users wanted was a bigger screen, so that's what we got. Moving to a 5-inch screen will be disappointing for some, as there's no doubt such an appetite for smaller phones, but as Apple has shown, even the iPhone is getting bigger. The Moto G2 doesn't bout from a 720p HD resolution display, however, it means there is slightly fewer pixels per inch, 295 pixels per inch versus the 226 pixels per inch of the original. It still uses Corning Gorilla Glass 3 to protect against scratches, which is always a bonus to have on any phone. This is still a great quality phone for a sub $200 phone. It's not as impressive sharp as the original, but there's not a great deal to complain about here. Compare it to similarly priced mid-range phones like the Sony Xperia M2, which only offers a pixel resolution of 480 by 800 resolution, and you can get the idea how much Motorola is giving us here. The only area where it disappoints slightly is the brightness. It's not just as bright as similar priced phones. While it's more accurate than the 720p screens on the slightly more expensive Acer Liquid E3 and $500 Samsung Galaxy Alpha, it's not as bright either. It's still easier to view outdoors than most cheap phones, but it's a small sour note in otherwise excellent performance. So that's it folks. If you guys enjoyed this review, do leave a thumbs up and of course subscribe if you haven't already. Once again, thank you for watching guys, and of course, peace out guys.